Q. So yeah, my company is called Looma. It's a meal planning app that's coming soon to the iOS App Store. We've been working on this from concept for about 3 years, from the idea, and then actually on this product for about 2 years. Looma is a meal planning app, which means that it recommends what to eat. It gives you a grocery list, and it even tracks your nutrition automatically. All right. So the category of meal planning apps is a little different from what you might see from MyFitnessPal, because MyFitnessPal doesn't recommend recipes, and it's not necessarily like a recipe website. One of the most popular that's been trending is Yumly. So it kind of recommends recipes and gives you a grocery list, but it doesn't necessarily plan your meals day by day like a meal planning app would. So it's a little different category. It's a little bit of a different category, and I'll share with you kind of our story about how we got to this point. So initially, I went to community college, and I was very interested in studying nutrition, and so I was reading resources like examine.com, learning about how to kind of optimize for nutrition across the different factors. I found out that I was really interested in measuring biomarkers to determine optimal performance through nutrition. So I started with this idea. A little magic box on the right there is actually our first idea. It takes into account your like blood or saliva samples, and it recommends what to eat based on what your testosterone levels might be, or if your vitamin D levels are low. So it has a few different factors. This is actually not our company. This is called Q, and they've been working on this for nearly a decade now. And they are some researchers out in one of the big California schools like UCLA or something. And they have raised over $10 million now, and they're working with very large companies, multinational companies, to develop this. And they are a team of PhDs. And so I wanted to kind of share this quote here from TechCrunch that was explaining it. It says, "The quantified self and quantified health trends frequently overlap, but few startups are quite as tightly screwed into that sticking place as Q." The reason that I didn't go any further beyond this concept is because, one, it took a PhD, and that would have been many more years of studying for me. The second thing is, because it takes so much money to develop a device like this, where they're getting into technologies like microfluidics, and it requires a research lab, we knew that right away we couldn't develop something like this where it was time feasible and cost feasible. And we also found out too that a lot of people that we were interviewing through this program called NSF iCore, they weren't really interested in optimal performance or taking medical diagnostics and determining what actionable like meal plan might be. They were more interested in just kind of general meal planning like they were getting from existing apps. So to cover a wider market and to kind of lower our costs and the time to entry, we came up with what is now Looma. So we focused on the app part, right? So there's kind of two things in this image, and I was so narrowly focused at first coming in that I wanted to make a magic box, and I decided that it would be best just to make the app. So what we found through lots of customer discovery, now almost 200 interviews, is that 2/3 of the American population is overweight or obese, according to the CDC. And the factors that we found for that a lot of people don't tell you, is that one of the biggest factors is time. We're spending about 30 minutes or less in meal prep and pickup every single day, on average across all of America, compared to about 2 hours by the rest of the world. So that includes countries like France and Italy and the UK, where people are spending much more time on meals than we are every day, where we're seeking convenience. The issue with that is that we only know about 10 recipes on average off the top of our head. This is according to the BBC. And when we try to overhaul our lifestyle to be healthier over a diet or something, we often reduce that down to only like a few, and then we get really bored of the things that we eat and we feel constrained. So because of that, diets don't usually last very long because people feel constrained, and then in the long term, those cravings build up and they decide to cheat on their diets, right? So I've been there so many times, and I'm sure everyone else has too. I've tried quite a few of those diets now, and I haven't found them sustainable for myself, but I probably don't have rock solid discipline either. The other thing is convenience. So because we're spending so little time on food every day, we're seeking convenient options, which has led the average American to eat about 30 pounds more sugar per year than people did on average back in the 1970s. Now, ironically, we're also eating about another 130 pounds more vegetables per year than we were in the 1970s. And so it tells us that people definitely want to eat healthier. They're just finding hidden sugars in all these foods that are holding them back from their goals. And that's why obesity and things like that have risen so much. So what we decided to do is solve that variety problem. Number one, we added 2 million recipes to our app, and these take into account about 10 billion data points, including the taste factors. So over time, these recipes are recommended to you based on taste as well, kind of like the Spotify of foods. So you can see other meal planning apps that are almost like the local radio or the XM, where you can kind of narrow a few different options, but ours really personalizes to you over time to keep everything relevant and interesting. And so by about a factor of 10 cubed, we have more recipes than any competitor. We also give a ready-made grocery list, so as you make a meal plan with just a swipe, like you saw on the last slide, you get a ready-made grocery list with it. You also can scale any recipe to any serving size, so it makes it really easy for you to kind of see your ingredients day by day, listed out in easy to manage calculation for every ingredient. And then also, as a premium feature, we've added automatic nutrition tracking, because a lot of people were telling us that they use MyFitnessPal or other calorie counters, but they take a lot of time to log all those things, and some people are even complaining that when they can't find the correct recipe, it takes much longer for them to log about 6 different items in a recipe. And so we decided to add that as a premium feature. It was until recently that we realized that we could go freemium with this, because we're actually spending so much money on getting the data, those 2 million recipes I mentioned earlier. Data isn't free, so we've been spending a lot of money to do that, and it was just recently that we found out how to go freemium with this app. Before, we wanted to go premium with a 14-day free trial, and we finally changed the business model over to something that could be a lot more viral in the end. So this is our team here. It's myself. There, I'm working at Ford in Silicon Valley, starting this summer. My co-founder is working at Schneider right now. It's a multinational trucking company based out of Wisconsin. He's an application developer, and he tells me all the time how he's managing a few million-dollar projects now. And he just started a few months ago. He graduated with a CS degree in 3 years, so he's a great developer too, and it definitely takes one to make something like this. We formed the Bob Mark elevator pitch about 2 years ago, for Best Technology. So that helped boost our funding. Thank you, Jason, and Marilyn. And we also were a finalist at Accelerate Michigan. So that's kind of our company history. And then recently we've been getting some press for our Indiegogo campaign. So back in my hometown, in Traverse City, we got featured in the Record Eagle. We've been on 9 and 10 News. Up here, we've been on UP TV6. We've been in the Daily Mining Gazette. And then I've also been on Product Hunt too, so that was a big boost for us. They're getting tens of millions of people that visit that site every month, and that was a huge boost for our traffic. And then Indiegogo as well. I can't tell exactly because I don't know if this is glitched, but I think our Indiegogo campaign has about 3,000 shares on Facebook last I checked. So it's gone really well, at least with getting the word out and everything. So yeah, that is the story of Looma and how we got started. Our iteration over about 3 years. It's been very slow, arduous, but definitely worth it the entire time. And I haven't felt the least bit bogged down by doing this in school and everything else that I do. So I love every moment of it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. Yeah.
Hi Kyle. So I haven't seen your app yet, but when I've done things with like meal suggestions and services before, there's always kind of that rut you get into where it's like I and you don't like it, what do you do at that point? You flip through and find something better, or how does it work?
Yeah, so if you don't like the recipe recommendations, you just give it a left swipe. It's like the Tinder of foods, I guess, in that respect. So we actually did it because a lot of people were looking at the grids on recipe websites and they were like, hey, I want a curry or something. And then they look at a whole grid and they can see pages and pages of curry. And they were just choosing like the first few because they were just like, I just want the best curry. I don't want every curry, you know? So that's why we made it like this. And if you don't like the recipe recommendations, my co-founder said it was really easy to make a search function, and so he just recently built this search function in there so you can actually type it in now. And then once you type it in, you just swipe, and then it matches your recommendation. So it makes it easy if you are not getting anything that you like and you keep left swiping, you can type it in the search, and now you can find it too. So that was actually not on the mock-ups that I showed too, because he recently built that, and he didn't realize how easy it was to build. So yeah, that was a nice added feature.
I like the swiping. I know people who could probably just sit there and swipe all day.
Yeah.
You know, like mid-afternoon, get ready for
I've interviewed a couple people who have pinned healthy recipes for over 2 hours on Pinterest just in a weekend. So yeah, there's a lot of power users out there. Yeah.
So Andrew, so what are you're raising funds? So what is your goal? What are the funds for?
So our goal was $10,000. We are a little short of that. I've reached out to almost 300 now, like media publications and everything, and it is so hard to get through the traffic and the noise. So yeah, if we got coverage like that, I think it would help a lot more. But right now we're only at 2,500 of our $10,000 goal, and today's the last day. So, but we get to keep all of it because it all helps. It's just we'll have to come up with it kind of on the fly as we go.
So what is that money needed for?
The data is the biggest thing. The phases of testing that we're going through, it's $500 per month for about 3 months of testing that we plan on doing through the beta access. So we wanted to cover those fees up front. And then we also need $5,000 per month, about month one. So once we get that covered up front, that would be huge. So that's about $6,500. The rest is going to be in testing devices. So we don't have a testing device for iPhone 7, 8X. And my co-founder, Chayton, is also looking for an iMac right now that's going to be able to do better than his 2011 MacBook that he's got, because the application that he's running right now is pretty intensive on his computer. So yeah.
I'm gonna go back to the recipe stuff. So there's a way to like favorite things, right? So
Yeah,
you get all these suggestions, but then I have my go-tos that I might like, and then also you
Yeah.
search by ingredient. So like if I have just a bag of scallions that I need to use up, can you search by ingredient? And
Yeah, you can actually do exactly that. Yeah, the search function allows you to do that. So you can search by ingredient, and then there's also a little heart that you can see up there, and that's for liking stuff, and then you can see everything in a collection of all your likes, and then you can replan it later if you need to. So we thought of that detail because we know everybody, you have to have a like if you have an app today. So,
yeah.
Yeah, Jason.
So are you developing this only for iOS for Apple, or is this on a common platform so you can end up hitting the other side of the market on the Android market?
Yeah, so for the technical question, we had to go iOS first because it's a lot of things going on in this app, and we couldn't make an application that covered every platform at once. Those would be web-based application, and a lot of people do those when it's not a very complex app. And so we had to go with a native application is what it's called, where we go either iOS, Android, or web separately, and they're all different code bases because of all the things that were going on here. So it kind of slows down the application, it increases the battery drainage, so things like that. And we had to go with iOS first because of that. So if, I don't know, Chayton has been telling me for a while now, he's like, man, I could have made like 3 MyFitnessPals by now. So he's saying, you know, it takes a long time to make this, and there's a reason for it. There's a lot of complexity to it. So we were trying to optimize every factor. I have an idea, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit more broad right now because I don't know our actual users. I only know the people that have been clicking on our ads so far, and even that data could be skewed by the ad networks we've been running on, like Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. But the majority of the people clicking on our ads have been around 18 to 24. And I picture a lot of our actual users, especially the paying users, to be about 22 and up, out of college, young professionals, busy with a new work-life balance. And I was figuring too that a lot of these people would want to eat healthier, things like that. I can't do everything that I want to for like mothers, young, kind of young families. But that would be our next step, is to add a set of features that will expand to that market as well. In the meantime, it would work for them. It's just not ideal. Yeah, here, I'll start.
All right, doesn't matter. But so how about this for sports, like orientated? Can you like direct this towards, like, let's say you're training for a specific sport. Like I'm big into, like, let's just say bodybuilding or powerlifting and stuff. Can I like design my certain recipes to fit that? If I want to have more for, you know what I mean, specific for a certain area.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for people in sports and bodybuilding is the macros. And yeah, so with every recommendation, we do the calorie and macronutrient tracking for you, because we're basing those recommendations on your target calories and macronutrients for the day. So every recommendation is tailored to that goal. The way that we're doing that is we're taking into account your body composition, like your height, weight, gender, and even your body fat percentage with a visual estimation. And so we can tell if somebody's 300 pounds and an offensive lineman, or they're just like Arnold Schwarzenegger with like no fat on them. So we do that as a macronutrient recommendation, and then at the end of the setup, you can actually change the macronutrient recommendations to suit your needs and goals. But that is a possibility. I haven't seen personally a lot of interest from athletes, but I think that if they knew that it was hitting all of their target macros and calories for the day, it could be more appeal.
I would just say, because colleges, if this thing takes off, a lot of colleges might invest in their athletes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Down the road.
Yeah, and I would have to look at different packaging options too, because right now we just have a 1 month and a 1 year for single users as a plan. But yeah, I would have to look into more of that, and possibly even add features to accommodate what athletes would want.
Okay.
Yeah, you had a question?
When do you see it as one of the largest risks?
I think one of the largest risks right now is if somebody comes into the space, and not necessarily like the apps with meal planning space, but the saving time on eating healthy, okay? I think that's really our biggest appeal to people. And so if somebody can help people save time and eat healthy better than we can, then I think that would be the biggest disruptor. Because that's what a lot of people would be coming to our application for, because I've had enough interviews with people now where they've told me, I like MyFitnessPal because I can eat healthier, it tells me what my habits are, but they give up on it within a month because it takes too much time. And that goes with pretty much every diet that they go on too, because they have to plan it ahead of time, and there's a reason that we do New Year's resolutions once a year. It's because it takes so much time to do. Otherwise, people could start any day they wanted. So until there's something that does it better than we do, which doesn't necessarily mean an application, then I think that would be the biggest disruptor to us. Okay.
Any other questions?
What can we as a community do to help you?
I guess number one, it's the last day of the Indiegogo campaign. So there's that. Number two, if you're interested, definitely sign up for our newsletter on our website. It's at livelooma.com. That's LIVELOO.MA or LOOMA.com. And if you go to that website and just sign up for our newsletter, you can keep up to date. I'll let you know when the beta, the private beta that is only access to the Indiegogo campaign begins. And I can also let you know when the actual release, the public release, is made available to everybody. So you can get on board with that, and you can use it free if you didn't want to use it as a premium user, and yeah, that's really the biggest thing for right now. Any kind of support that you can lend is great. Getting the word out helps. It's very difficult to get the word out about any app. So yeah, that's really the biggest ask that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.